Well, hey friends, welcome back to the channel. I like to share stories on here of things I find from time to time that are interesting and have perhaps been forgotten about through these many years. But one of them I ran onto recently was an article I found in a newspaper. And this happened after Lester Flatt had passed away. But the article title is Lester Flatt Estate Executors Object to Coors Beer Poster. And I'll just read it here for you and see what you think about this. It says, Lester Flatt would not have appreciated seeing his picture on a poster promoting Coors Beer, the executors of his estate said yesterday. The executors were so unhappy, in fact, about finding Flatt's face in a collage of Tennessee sites on a Coors poster that they sued Coors of Cumberland, Middle Tennessee distributor for the popular beer for $1.5 million. The famed bluegrass musician who died in May 1979 at age 64 was a teetotaler and would never have approved something like this, said Grant Smith, an attorney for Flatt's executors, Lance Leroy and Commerce Union Bank. Flatt promoted Martha White and pet milk food products, but refused offers from breweries which wanted to hire him to promote their products, Smith said. The reason for this refusal was his objection to and distaste for the consumption of alcoholic beverages, the executors said in their Chancery Court lawsuit. The poster, in two versions, one for Coors and another for Coors Light, depicts Flatt, his longtime partner Earl Scruggs, and their band, along with a portrait of Andrew Jackson, a view of the Ryman Auditorium, a pioneer in a coonskin cap, a fisherman, ducks in flight, and an antique rifle. A spokesman for Coors of Cumberland, saying the posters were initiated by the brewery, referred questions about the lawsuit to Adolph Coors Company of Golden, Colorado. Bob Kaiser, corporate communications manager for Adolph Coors Company, said late yesterday afternoon that he had not seen a copy of the lawsuit and was not prepared to comment on who designed the poster. The lawsuit filed by Flatt's executors asked for $500,000 in damages for unlawful commercial exploitation of Lester Flatt's likeness, $500,000 for Coors' alleged willful and malicious misrepresentation, and another $500,000 for unjust enrichment. Smith filed with the lawsuit a set of interrogatories to Coors of the Cumberland, including questions about how much the distributorship has earned since it began operations here earlier this year. Officials of the distributorship have said they experienced the most successful opening in the brewery's history, selling more than 500,000 cases of beer in their first 7 weeks of package sales. So I thought that was an interesting article. And then later on, let's see, this article, well, it doesn't say when this article was from. Well, it was from Thursday, July 2nd, 1981. And then Saturday, August 15th in 1981, from the Tennessean newspaper in Nashville, Tennessee, I found this article right here. This one, I'll read this one to you too. It says, attorneys for Coors of the Cumberland asked Chancellor Robert S. Brandt yesterday to dismiss a $1.5 million lawsuit filed by Lester Flatt's trustees for using his picture in ads. No one would think that Lester Flatt is indicating his approval on Coors Beer, said Tom Black, Coors' attorney. He's not here to do that. What the ad obviously is attempting to show is some Tennessee aroma. But attorneys representing Flatt's estate filed a motion stating that Flatt's image on the Coors poster gives the impression that Flatt backed the product. Lester Flatt's likeness has value, said Paul Rudolph, attorney for the Commerce Union Bank. It was an important part of his wealth. The assumption that Lester Flatt would have endorsed Coors Beer is harmful. Black argued in the hearing yesterday that the use of a person's image is a personal right, not a right that passes down to heirs. There is a distinction between the right of privacy and the right to publicity, he said. Commerce Union Bank and Lance Leroy, co-executors and co-trustees of the estate of country music star Lester Flatt, who died in 1979, filed the lawsuit against Coors for using Flatt's picture on 2 posters. Rudolph claims the image of Flatt is a valid trademark owned by the plaintiffs and that the image has suffered undetermined damage as a result of the Coors posters. Coors officials said earlier that the drawing on the poster was not intended to represent Flatt and that any resemblance to him was coincidental. The poster also includes a picture of Earl Scruggs, President Andrew Johnson, Davy Crockett, and other Tennessee figures. Brandt is expected to rule on the motions next week. So what do you think about that, friends? I know Coors was trying to say that they didn't mean for that image to represent Lester, but it's awful coincidental, like it said, that Earl Scruggs is in the picture too. I don't know if Earl sued Coors or not, but I couldn't find a follow-up on this article about how this lawsuit turned out. I don't know if it was settled out of court or if the Lester's estate got the $1.5 million that they were asking for, or if it was, just dismissed totally. I don't know. I couldn't find a follow-up on this. I'm sure maybe there was one out there, but unfortunately I couldn't find it. But yeah, from what I've read about Lester, I know I read the book on his life that was written, and from everything I've read about Lester, he didn't approve of drinking. He wasn't a drinker and didn't like people who got caught up in the alcoholic lifestyle. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. That wasn't the only lawsuit that Lester had. Of course, that was after Lester had passed away, but there was another lawsuit that was filed by Lester, and this is from a newspaper, the Memphis Press, and this was on Saturday, October 26, 1974 is when this was published. And it just says here, Lester Flatt settles suit. Lester Flatt, guitar-picking bluegrass music star, has settled a $500,000 lawsuit against Esquire magazine, which grew out of a magazine article calling him the late Lester Flatt. The article implying that I was dead happened at a time when my career was going better than ever before, said Flatt. I just want to be sure the public knows I plan to do a lot more picking and singing before I become the late Lester Flatt. Flatt for several years was the performing partner of banjo artist Earl Scruggs, but the two men have gone their separate ways during the past 2 years. Terms of the out-of-court settlement were not disclosed. But anyway, I thought that was interesting too. I didn't know about Lester having a lawsuit against Esquire magazine for calling him the late Lester Flatt. Friends, what do you think about that? I know I covered a video recently about Bill Monroe's legal problems and lawsuits he had and such, but it sounds like Lester had his problems too. And of course, I covered the Flatt and Scruggs breakup recently, and there were lawsuits over that too. But it sounds like even after that, Lester had some problems with people using his likeness and calling him the late Lester Flatt. So you can see how that would be damaging to a person's career. But anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think about that video, what your thoughts are about that. And anyway, as always, thanks for watching the video. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. I really appreciate all the subscriptions and the thumbs up and the comments down in the comment section. Keep them coming. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.